Well, here we are. Welcome to this episode of Trainer Talk Live. This episode, we are focusing on video production. My name is Tim Beeman, and I am the Pod Father. I am the host of the Less Desirables, The Man Away to Town, and Asylum Tales of the Devereaux Diaries podcasts, among others. With me is the fearless leader, sometimes mostly fearless leader of Train Cycle and one of the most bad-arsed, see what I did there with the PG-13 part, bad-arsed people I know, Miss Liz May. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, even better now that I get to see your wonderful face.
Thank you so very much.
And the epic beard.
Yes. You know, I meant to put on my hat. Maybe during the thing I'll put on my Santa hat and I'll really play the part. So we have with us today, we are going to be talking with video production professionals that are trainers here at Train Cycle. And I think we should probably just go ahead and bring them on in. What do you think?
Let's do that. I think we have lots to talk about with them.
We do. Up first, we have Mr. Eric Dowdy. Over the past 25 years, Eric has viewed life through the lens of a camera, rising from the ranks of production assistant and news editor of WXII here in Winston-Salem to videographer, video producer, and virtual tour photographer with a national marketing agency. He has done a lot of TV shows. He's covered like the Daytona 500. He's done presidential debates. He's been on production for Will and Grace, ER, Dr. Phil, and all the other good stuff. Since 2001, though, he has performed on stage in several theatrical productions. Some of his favorite productions include Guys and Dolls, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, A Few Good Men, and The Full Monty. I'm wondering how full that Monty was. So, ho.
Don't share your trade secrets.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Eric Dowdy.
Hello. How is everyone? Good, I hope.
Fantastic.
Everybody got their yoga pants on?
I'm actually in shorts, believe it or not.
Hey, well, you know, it's all about comfort in 2020.
So, Eric, give us about 45 seconds of who you are. Tell us about you.
I am. You listen. I spent my first 15 years of my career at the Dirty Dozen. For those that are in the Triad area, would know that is WXII TV. And I got to be around a lot of great people. I would say to anybody that wants to be in video, if you can make a news video journalist your first job, then you won't go wrong. Then I actually took a break from video for a little bit and managed a restaurant front of the house, which, by the way, the skills are the exact same. Everybody wants you to do. Met. That's right. Everybody wants to do 8 hours of work in a 2-hour period. And then I got back in this time now on the marketing side, and you know, the whole DSLR revolution, and now all those guys at WXI that used to shoot 16 millimeter film and used to go, you know, we didn't used to get but 4 minutes of film. You get all day with your tapes. Well, now it's all gone back to the 16 millimeter look. So here we are. But in my spare time, you mentioned Guys and Dolls. I met my wife doing Guys and Dolls at CTG in Greensboro. So theater is a passion of mine. I love to perform. I've been a member of Bunker Dogs Improv. I do consider myself comedic at heart. And one thing I try to do on any set that I'm on is to find the fun in it. Because if you're working in video and not having fun, then
why are you even in it at that point?
Why are you here? Right. It's all show business, babe.
Right on. Well, welcome to our panel today, Eric.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And next is Mr. Jack Pennington, who I have worked with on a couple of occasions, doing a training video for a 5K, which was fun to do the video. It sucked like all get out to be in that 5K.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I have shot a music video in a barn out in remote Podunk, North Carolina somewhere, with him as well. But Jack Pennington is an award-winning filmmaker and Emmy-nominated television producer living in Winston-Salem. He produced the broadcast television series Life in the Carolinas and has produced documentary web content featured on Pathos and the Huffington Post. He has over 5 years of teaching experience between various institutions, including the North Carolina School of the Arts School of Drama, UNCSA School of Filmmaking, and Western Piedmont Community College. He now primarily produces independent documentaries about eccentric locals and music videos for regional artists, as I have said. So, Jack, something that I haven't mentioned in that. Tell us something about you.
Man, that's a pretty good intro. Yeah, I mean, you covered pretty much all the bases for me. I mainly focus now on trying to produce documentary style content for small businesses. My focus now is I want to try and make video available to people who wouldn't ordinarily. Hey, the hat just made an appearance. Who wouldn't ordinarily go seek it out because they think it's outside of their budget. So like those are the people that I focus on now. And like you said, eccentric locals. I do love to find my crazy people and tell their stories. I got a documentary in festival right now called Kook. It's actually screening in India at 4 a.m. If anyone wants to stay up for it, it's going to be on YouTube at 4 a.m. And yeah, I produce a lot of music videos as well for locals. Tim has been in at least one of them, and you pretty much covered it. I've been doing this for a while. I've done a little bit of everything. I would piggyback off of what Eric said about news videography, and I would say the same thing with wedding videography because that's where I got my start. Was actually as a wedding videographer, and I feel like it was the best training since film school in how to produce.
Right, yeah, because you're thrown into the wolves' den at that point. Just boom, there you are.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome to you, Mr. Jack Pennington. Up next, we have Rob Disner, who was born in Detroit, Michigan. That's Detroit for those non-French speakers. He is a graduate of Berklee College of Music in Boston, where he majored in music production and engineering. After college, he spent time in LA working at various recording studios, including the Record Plant and Ocean Way Record One. Projects that he was involved in New York include 2 years of studio work on Michael Jackson's Dangerous album.
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. Where did I say?
Los Angeles and New York. They're both big cities.
And in 2014, he moved to Atlanta. He is currently freelancing at Turner Studios, where he records the hosted intros and outros for TCM with Ben Mankiewicz, among others. And he met his wife, and then they moved to Dunwoody, Georgia. So welcome, Mr. Disner. I think we may have shared a stage a time or two, maybe some Vagabond Saints Society stuff and things like that.
I believe that's the case. Well, coming to you live from Dunwoody, Georgia, which is right near New York, really. And yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it. I had previously worked at Turner for the past 4 years, but in a freelance capacity. And that's kind of all gone by the wayside as they figured out they could shoot all these intros and outros to the movies themselves in their bedrooms with some sort of camera setup they provided them. So I've been in Atlanta for the past 6 years. Previously, yes, I was in Winston-Salem. I still have my 336 number hanging out of that. And just know a lot of your faces from the garage and places like that. So the last 6 years I've been doing production sound work in Atlanta on feature films, on TV series, of course, lots of stuff shooting in Atlanta, and lots of reality lately. I just finished a 5-week series that I was the audio supervisor on called Rock the Block for HGTV. That'll be out in March. I do a series called Caffeine and Octane that's on NBC, where we go to the car show and talk to people about their cool cars, and I just try to basically stay busy and get myself out there, and that's about where we're at. Glad to be a part of this.
Well, good to see you again, and welcome to our panel. Last but certainly not least, we have Gary Kirk, and you name it, he's done it. In his own words, he says, "I like to help people make things look and sound better." He started his broadcasting career in 1997 as a part-time master control room operator and assistant engineer at WVSX, a startup Fox station that gave him the opportunity to learn the industry from the ground up. He then was promoted to chief engineer and oversaw daily maintenance of the station. He left in 2001 for another station to help build and design a CW network control room. He was contacted by Concord University in Athens, West Virginia, where he helped design and build a new all-digital television studio for its Center for Academic Technologies. He went back to WVSX, which is now WVNS, to do more things. And in 2012, he joined the University of North Carolina Hussman School of Journalism and Media. And he has converted both of their TV studios to tapeless HD workflows and built their first radio podcasting studio. That was just recently, I believe. What he doesn't say in this bio here is that I have known Gary since probably he was born. He is my second cousin, and we actually host the Asylum Tales of the Devereaux Diaries podcast together. So welcome, Mr. Gary Kirk, to the show.
Thank you, Cousin Tim. Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about you that I didn't cover.
Well, you've said nearly everything, and when you say it all out in a line like that, I feel like I've actually done a whole lot. I still feel like I'm just a newbie at this. I love learning about AV. I am an AV nerd. I've known that I was going to be in the AV world since I was a wee little lad. I remember distinctly getting our first telephone, and I took it apart with a butter knife because I wanted to know where the sounds came from, and I wanted to know how it worked. And I actually, at around 5 years old, managed to take this thing apart and analyze it and put it back together, and didn't hurt the phone at all. Thank you, Care Bear. I did not hurt myself either. Children, don't use butter knives as tools to take apart electronics. Bad idea. I managed to safely do it, and now I'm teaching people how to do audio and video. News, I echo the sentiments down the row there. I got my start as a part-time board operator and worked my way through the ranks. And you name it, as it comes to television, if you can survive working live broadcast television, it's like going to war. I mean, you earn your battle scars and your stripes doing that. So, anybody that's ever done that kind of thing, hats off to you there. And switch over to my headset.
Well, while you're doing that, I just wanted to welcome you, Gary, to the show. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah.
So let's dive into some questions that we have here. So, Jack Pennington.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about Tell Stories Change the World?
Yeah, that's started out as a YouTube series that I was doing. It's abbreviated to just Tell Change usually. And it's a phrase that it's a very, it's kind of a lame origin story. I was in college and I was doodling on a piece of paper, and I doodled the phrase "Tell Stories Change the World." And I thought, that's what I'm going to do with my life. That's my mission. I'm going to tell stories. I'm going to change the world. And here we are, a decade-ish later, and that's still kind of been my mission. That's why I focus on documentary in general, and why I try and find subjects who are the kind of people who would necessarily end up in a mainstream documentary. I interviewed a potter a couple years ago who uses pottery as just the way he relieves stress. And it's just a normal, everyday kind of story. But when you look at it the right way, it's a really beautiful thing that this guy goes out into his studio every day and he focuses all of his anxiety into creating something beautiful. And it's like, I wanted to tell stories like that. So that's been the kind of thing that I've been creating. And it's sort of evolved from being just a YouTube series to now it's more of just my kind of, filmmaker, artist mission statement kind of a thing. Does that cover it?
It does. Thank you very much. Rob, can you talk about the equipment that you use on set for audio capturing?
I can. You're going to hear some random squeaking in the background because my puppy has decided to play with his favorite squeak toy right now, which is why I'm trying to mute the mic when I'm not on here. I basically use a lot of portable digital recorders, which I carry on me like a kangaroo. So I'll have a bag that includes an 8-track digital recorder, wireless microphones. It'll have powering for all the equipment, timecode equipment to sync with the cameras. And like I said, everything is portable and can be picked up very quickly, all battery powered. And I basically have a little, this niche that I've been working in, which is just doing these reality shows, corporate shows, that kind of thing. Sometimes some bigger productions, but mostly with my own equipment. And it's all file-based recorders, recording to cards. I remember the old days. I had a Nagra tape recorder that ran on 12 D-cell batteries. And I loved that thing, and I made a living off of it for a very long time. But of course, today everything is isolated tracks, so I will record a mix, plus I'll record up to 8 isolated tracks of people wearing wireless lavaliers, and then turn all that stuff into the production, and then I'm done, and I go on to the next.
Right on. That's cool. So which recorder did you say you use mostly?
I own a Sound Devices 833, which is their new 8-track recorder. And I always carry a backup, which is the 633, which was the one before it. And it is just a digital SD recording, handheld 8-track recorder.
Okay, because I have a F8, whatever it is from Zoom. So
I've got an F4 too as well. And
yeah.
That's pretty much a backup.
Mine's an F4. Mine's an F4.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the F4 I'll throw in a car if we're doing some crazy stuff where they're driving on a racetrack or whatever, and I don't want my stuff to get banged around. So
right.
I will use that, but mostly I'm recording a lot of sit-down interviews. Nothing too crazy for the most part. On reality TV, you'll do a lot of running around. I just did this show where they built 4 houses in 6 weeks, and we just ran up and down the stairs and in the basements and the backyards and all over the place. And it was a lot of work. And, I'm 54 years old and I'm still feeling it, but it's fun work. It's cool to see how they're making the show, and I just concentrate on the audio side of it. And we interface a lot with camera, of course, but everyone does a little job, and somehow the stuff gets done.
Cool. Well, Gary, you have been streaming since before it was called streaming. What was it called back then?
So I make that joke because I've been in television almost as long as the internet's been around. And before there was streaming as we know it, everybody thinks of streaming, being the internet, but we used to call it over-the-air broadcast. Those 3 or 4 fabulous channels that you used to be able to pull in on your antenna, and that we were streaming out over the airwaves back then. Then we converted to digital television, and what that became is a point to multi-point stream. We're streaming from this transmission location out to each and every household that's got a decoder box, tuning that in over the air. So, that is streaming. And then along comes the internet, and now everybody can be a broadcaster. Everybody's a content creator. And, so streaming has evolved in so many different ways. It's pretty cool to see where it's evolved to at this point, where now all I need is this, and I can do content creation and broadcast out to millions of people, which used to take monumental amounts of manpower and money and technology just to be able to pull off what you can now do with your phone.
Cool. Eric, can you talk a little bit about your recent video work for local productions like the Little Theater, North Carolina Black Repertory Company, and how are those being presented to their audiences?
So obviously the pandemic of 2020, aka COVID, put a big hurt on the theater world, specifically it put down Broadway, but
Yeah.
just here locally, all of our local theaters all of a sudden didn't have a way to do their shows, and many of them were right in the middle of getting ready to launch productions. So they had to try and figure out, well, what do we do? And I just this month, a week ago Sunday, Liz and I were down at Haynes Brands, and North Carolina Black Rep was they normally do Black Nativity every year this time in a sold out theater for probably 2 weekends, and that's not going to happen this year. So we videotaped it and recorded it, and it's going to be presented starting December the 19th. They'll be able to charge an admission for it, but they finished the edit on it, I believe, today, I heard. And and then on the flip side of that, speaking of live streaming, my live streaming buddy over the summer has been Philip Powell, who's the executive director at Little Theater, he created a game show to try and keep all the community theaters connected. It was called Battle of the Community Theater Stars, and we used what we're in now, the platform known as StreamYard, to do this game show weekly for, I think it was a 14-week run. And we pulled in theaters from Raleigh and Charlotte as well as the local ones. But then, Little Theaters got their home for the holidays, and we set up in the Reynolds Theater. It was me and Philip and a gentleman named Mickey, and along with the director, Mark Perillo, and socially distanced with performers, and pulled off what they're going to present, which is a classic kind of Christmas show of holiday classics. And then in addition to that, I spent last week in the evening, another local theater group here, Spirit Gum Theater, which is a very small group, but they have a show.
I love them.
They do the stuff that nobody else does. And I don't know if anybody knows Emily Emerson. She used to do, I was her husband in the Full Monty. You mentioned that in my intro. But she's a playwright now, and she specifically wrote a play for an online platform, since we're all video conferencing this day, and it's about two couples, and we recorded it in StreamYard. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be editing that together, and they're going to debut that in January. So, what's the classic line from Jeff Goldberg in Jurassic Park? Life finds a way. And I think, even when all us video professionals are getting those emails on March 15th saying, hey, this production's gotten pushed. Hey, this production's gotten pushed. So we're thinking, well, that's it. We're done for the next 6 months. But eventually we found our way to live streaming. And then, we decided to try and conquer the world that way. So, that's just kind of where we are.
That question is for you, Eric. It says, how are you streaming a pre-recorded video, especially if you have it scheduled so you don't have to be present?
That's a good question. Thank you, Dr. David. I had a Dr. David professor at App State. In StreamYard, like, for instance, we're live right now. But we essentially could do the same thing we're doing right now, and we can record it in StreamYard. And then we could still go live in StreamYard, but then just play the video out of it. And that's what's been kind of amazing that I've seen about all these different platforms. Like, I think Ecamm's another one, or I guess what is the
Social Live is what we're using at UNC. Does the same thing that we're talking about, though.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you can embed a video into YouTube and then, go live with that. But I mean, that could be something that, I guess the term on Facebook is, you can premiere a video. It's just like television, folks. It's, people see
Magic.
yeah, everybody. This is the biggest thing I used to do, and I worked at a marketing agency, and we had a young woman start working. She was 24, and the bubble I always like to burst for people, because I learned this when I first started working at WXII in 1995. So speaking of New Year's, which is coming up, right? So Dick Clark's whatever
Rockin'
Eve, right? The first thing they shared with me was, so Eric, when you're watching Dick Clark and you see Dick Clark out in the cold, now that's live. Okay. Now, when you see, let's just say, the Foo Fighters performing in front of all these people, and they got their party hats on, and they're in this nice looking studio and all, guess what? That was taped in June. All those people are paid extras, because you know what? The Foo Fighters aren't going to come out on New Year's Eve and perform unless you're paying them.
All right.
You're going to pay them, but they may show up in Hollywood in June and take a couple of songs in a studio. Yeah. But they never tell you that. They just do it. So
we did that with Folk Fest too this year. I was part of the live mixing of that, and they recorded everything and mixed everything down, and then they broadcasted it like they would actually have the festival. They just broadcasted it. And I think they used, now I can't remember the name of it, but it's something TV. It's like it's what Avett Brothers just used when they just did their drive-through or drive-in performance as well. So a lot of people are doing that, where they're taking the time to really edit it down and get it nice and perfect, and then live streaming or airing. Nutcracker from School of the Arts just did that too.
Right. And let's just to give us to clear up some rumors that are out there, all these different bands that release these, or these, Hamilton put out, something, and you see all these million voices or these choirs, and they're all singing. It's not live, folks. That has been recorded, and then they get a very talented person like Liz to mix the audio, and somebody else, Rob or Jack or whoever, to edit that all together. And we're pros, so we'll make it look live. But
it's one of the greatest COVID secrets in the industry right now. I mean, even the ones that are really doing it, they're not doing it. They're, most of them are probably sitting down, each one of them listening to a recording, right, playing along with it, and then somebody like you or I or these others are editing it together, and it does look awesome. And initially I was like, all right, how are they doing that? I've got to know. I've got to figure this out. And when you start digging, that's when, you peel back that curtain and you see there's just an old man on a bicycle back there, pedaling along.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones, I know, had a thing where they did a song live, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and it looked really good, and it really looked like Mick was singing. And then the guitar solo came, and Keith was like having a cocktail while you heard the guitar playing. So, yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible without, all this latency, and it's nearly impossible to get even 2 people to do something together live. Even this video, it's only one person talking at the same time. If you had 2 things going at the same time, one's going to cut off the other, and all that kind of stuff. There's a very funny video of 4 people like on Zoom, and they all say, "Okay, clap, 3, 2, 1," and everyone's clapping at a different time. So that's the reality of it.
Yeah, there's inherent latency that you can't get around when you're doing this over the internet. Even the radio people that are using say ISDN connections, or some of these Comrex is what we're currently using at UNC. There's still a little bit of latency, but those are, very high quality point-to-point connections. It's not just going out over the internet. To be able to play along with a drummer or somebody singing, it's impossible. There's no possible way you could do it. Not right now, yet.
Alex,
on record saying yet.
Alex, there was a question that came through from, I believe her name was Kaylin. Yes. Does someone want to tackle that? I just graduated with a broadcast degree. How do I continue learning while not in university anymore?
YouTube. God, I used it today.
Train cycle.
Or train cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, Google. I mean, or the internet. I mean, it is because
YouTube University is a big thing.
It really is.
You know what's a great site that is I don't know how many of y'all have ever used Udemy. It's udemy.com. I signed up for some courses just to learn some software programs through that, and also I tend to work. A lot of my work ends up on websites, and so I have to deal with developers all the time. In fact, I had a question today from a group of developers about some virtual tour photography, and I didn't know the answer to it. But you just have to get out there and just keep searching, because it's changing. It's always changing.
When I'm not doing video production or things of that nature with the university, I'm doing support. And the big secret is, have you rebooted it? Is it actually plugged in? And have you Googled it? If you haven't done these things, you really shouldn't come to my department and ask for help, because those are the first questions we're going to ask you. And then we're going to go ahead and Google the next thing, because most of the time those things will fix most problems. Now, why did it happen? That's a bigger question. But most of the time when people call me for help, it's because it's already on the fan and they need somebody to clean it up. So unplug it, plug it back in. That will save you 9 times out of 10.
Well, we're just talking about live streaming in real time. So let's talk a second about this. What are some of the pros? And this is for everyone, not individual people. What are the pros and cons to live streaming in real time versus live streaming in pre-recorded product? So, I mean, I think we covered some of that in the.
I'll jump in with a
quick
story. I did a Facebook Live event with, I think it was the wrestler Ric Flair, whose daughter wrote a book, and we recorded it, and everything was fine. And it was just, I think 3 hosts and 2 people talking in these chairs. And it was my favorite job ever, because we recorded it and it wasn't supposed to go live for like another hour. And the guy looked at me and he said, "They already left. There's nothing you can do now. It's done. Go home." So I actually got to go home, and I made it home in time to watch the live stream of what I had done and got paid for a full day. So that's my quickie story. Someone else can come up with something more significant.
I think it depends on the actual content that you're working on. It depends on what it is you want to, you're trying to get out. If it's something like this, if it's a panel discussion, then doing it live is absolutely the way to do it, because it's going to be the least amount of time, the least amount of resources. It's going to take as much time to produce it as it takes to watch it. If it's something that's a little bit more delicate, like for example, I'm also doing a Christmas show that got turned into a virtual format, and we could have very easily set up 3 cameras in an empty theater, streamed it, hooked it up to a switcher, and people could have watched it live on Facebook. But we wanted to make something that felt like an old school holiday special. We wanted to shoot vignettes of her at the house and doing these other things. So we went ahead and shot everything beforehand. We've spent the past couple weeks editing that. I think they should be finishing up the sound mix in about half an hour or so. And then we're going to be streaming it on Thursday. And it's because it's something that's, really meticulously produced. So it depends on how much time you have, how many resources you can put behind it, and what it is exactly that you're trying to make.
Yeah, I agree with that. And for me, I think about it again from a newsy standpoint. In a newscast, you've got live elements, and then you've also got the pre-recorded, pre-produced elements. And, the pre-produced gives you the ability to polish it and give you that best foot forward. But the live element gives you a certain amount of organic energy that you can't get any other way. And we also try with our students to make sure that they understand, while yes, we could pre-record this newscast and air it at a later date or a later time, but there's people tend to put their best game face on when the red light goes on and they know that there's no turning back, that, you know, we've already practiced this. We've got it. Let's just go with it. So I like that aspect of live production.
So Dusty has a question here. While doing a live stream for my festival promotion, the sound cut out to the stream. We were running sound through Pro Tools and running AV out of OBS. How can I fix or do that better? Thank you, Dusty, for the question. Anyone? Bueller?
I'll jump in if nobody else is. I actually just built a studio for the Rave Agency in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And one of the things that we wanted to be able to do was to make sure to be able to control the audio. So you got multiple microphones that you're dealing with. And we also have a video switcher that it's going to have its own embedded audio. And we need to be able to control all of this. Being able to make sure that you have, we're using a Rodecaster to deal with the mixing for the breakout of our audio. Works really well. I would encourage you to be able to get that audio broke out, but don't put too many links in the chain. Because when it comes to the processing and getting it back out, once you break that audio out, you're creating a certain amount of latency in there. And every link that audio goes through before it gets back to the video is going to cause lip sync issues. So you want to be able to keep that nice and tight. I found that breaking it out to just going to the Rodecaster, and then I feed the line out of that Rodecaster directly in to an ATEM mini switcher. That keeps all of my audio. I only go one hop, so to speak, to be able to get from all of my different audio sources into that mixed video embed.
That's great, Gary. Yeah, I was going to say, what was the reason for going through Pro Tools? Because that does seem to be a lot of software connections in there. And I'm used to doing, for the live stream stuff I've been doing, it's all been outboard mixing through hardware, then into whatever you're using to do your video stream. So the video stream is only really having to process the video, and then whatever your audio is coming in, and it can put the two together and spit it out. And internet.
And we know that Pro Tools is a latency latency anyway. So
absolutely,
that creates a lot of problems on the stream anyway.
And what we're doing in that studio that I described, I've got the Blackmagic Designs ATEM Mini ISO Pro, I think is the big long name for the switcher. But on the podcaster, the Rodecaster side of things, you've also got the ability to be able to record and come in directly through a USB-C connection. So if you wanted to, you could be recording into Pro Tools or Adobe Audition or whatever, DAW software that you like. If there's a reason, if maybe that's why they're using Pro Tools, that gives you a totally separate mix aside from the whole video production, and let you mix them independently.
You can do that without bastardizing the stream, basically.
Yes, exactly. You can break that out so that you provide your full stream over here, but then you've got a full audio production over on the other side without having to add any extra links into that chain. That's the main thing, is minimize those links, because every link you add to the chain is a point of failure and a point of latency.
Absolutely.
I'd say also just maybe hire a sound person. A lot of times people just, forget that step and concentrate on the video and plug in a mic and see gears moving or whatever. I mean, maybe in that case you want somebody whose job it is just to make sure the sound is happening. I do a series of live Zoomcasts for a video game company, and that's what they hire me to do. And I make sure I have a return, and I'm monitoring a return, and I know that it's being, sent to them, and I'm getting it back. It's just all the basic stuff, but knock on wood, so far so good. But they probably have a for time with it if they just were,
The most important part of video is audio.
Not in a position to be able to hire me,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
How
the
much-
most
so-
important part of the video is audio and cat cameos.
Right. I was going to ask Rob, what's your cat's day rate?
Is it union?
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing is, this cat lives under the bed and almost never comes out. And then when I'm, live streaming or whatever, he wants to come out and show off. So that's ampersand for you. He's a very friendly boy.
Awesome.
So this is a question for all of you again. Okay, here you go. I'm a very new filmmaker, still in school actually. So how do I find out what services I can or want to provide people? And then how do I find the people who need my services?
Well, I said it before, and I guess I still stand by this. This is my advice to any new filmmaker. I said this at the top of the thing, so pardon me for repeating myself. But weddings. When I first got out of film school, I really didn't want to go shoot weddings, and I realized that there's always weddings going on, no matter where you're at. They're pretty much always the same kind of format. You learn a pattern to them pretty quickly, and they're very, very high risk and high stress, and really difficult. And you'll learn a lot about what you do like, what you don't like, what kind of people you want to work with as a business person. And you also start to figure out your eye. You start to figure out how you like to tell stories and what kind of frames you like to pick. Oh, I really love wide shots. Oh, I really love crazy close-ups of candlelights and stuff like that. Like, I'm going to tell my whole story in inserts, or I'm going to let it all play in a wide, like Wes Anderson. Like, you start to learn how it is, what your personal language is. And then what I found was you can start to connect to other industries through the wedding industry, because there's always people there who also work in corporate video. For me, it was a great way to start networking and start to do a whole bunch of different things. And then after about 3 years of it, I never did it again, because I do hate doing it. And it is incredibly high pressure and tough to do. And I'll never go back to it, but it was a great educator in general. So that's if you're just getting out of school, there's nothing like experience to teach you. So get out there and just start doing it.
I would also say, if you happen to be affiliated with a church or a synagogue or, anything like that, that I remember when I was first here in Winston-Salem, when I was working at Channel 12, the church I was going to, the people found out, oh, he's a cameraman. And, they wanted to put together these basically marketing videos for the church, in-house type stuff, to try and get people to tithe. And so I did it. And all of a sudden, one of the church members is coming up to me, hey, my company wants to do these marketing videos. And next thing I know, I'm going up to Portland, Maine to do marketing videos on water heaters. You want to talk about trying to find something interesting to shoot, a water heater in Portland, Maine in February. But here's the thing. That had a budget of 5 figures. Church video didn't have a budget of 5 figures. But, it was like all of a sudden, oh, okay, well, now I'm doing a marketing video, and then boom, all of a sudden you've got stuff that you can put together for a reel, or demo tape, as they call it these days, or, whatever. But just like what Jack said, as soon as you start doing something, somebody's going to remember that you were a part of that, and somebody's going to ask them eventually, I need somebody to shoot a video, or I need a sound person. So a video person is going to say, I need a sound person. And then, then we're going to call Rob. And then the next thing, it's very organic, this profession.
I agree. When I first moved to North Carolina, I'd been doing a lot of side gigs in West Virginia, but came down here and didn't really know anyone.
That sounds like a joke.
It does, doesn't it? I came down here and found a few like athletic gigs.
Hello, cousin Audrey.
Yeah. Hey, Mom. You can always count on your mom to be there when nobody else will. But so yeah, I came down here and I found a few athletic gigs, but immediately, as soon as I got those gigs, I started finding this organic group of people that showed up at any kind of gig that you could think of, from a wedding to whatever. It was the same group of people. So making those connections, counting on them to call you. I love what you said about a wedding too. Nothing will help you understand where your boundaries need to be than a really tough wedding. Walk away from that. My dad told me one time, he said, if something bothers you right now, go ahead and just nip it in the bud, because you will hate it. You will absolutely hate it a couple years down the road. So go ahead and, take care of it right then. Address your boundaries. It'll help you revise your contract. Don't ever undersell yourself. Don't ever listen to those people that tell you this is a good portfolio builder. I hate that. That just means you're tight.
It never is. Sorry.
Yeah.
It never is.
Yeah, I mean, I found the best way is just to never look for work at all anymore, and instead just concentrate on networking. I run a Facebook group that has 450 people who do sound in Atlanta. So eventually, if you just meet enough people, you don't have to look for anything at all, because somebody's going to remember that you're out there, and they're going to hear about a job and they're already working, or you're more appropriate for it, or whatever. And I do the same. I pass dozens of jobs on to people all the time if I'm double booked, or I know that's their specialty or whatever. And it just at some point it becomes a critical mass where you just know so many people that at some point somebody's going to reach out to you, and you end up regular clients and things like that. But most of the jobs I get, at least most of the good jobs, are just referrals from other people that do what I do, and I just try to be nice to all of them, and do the same for them.
So we're sitting. Okay, Terry Von Cannon here. Hey, Terry. As a musician, I know that money is always a problem when it comes to getting music to a video. Just getting the music recorded is a struggle. Any thoughts on the future for bands that will be trying to get back to work and actually being able to get a vid for their band or song?
Well, I know a
Jack,
guy.
You want to take that one?
Yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. What advice would I give at this point? I mean, I can tell you this. I try and produce music videos now. I've kind of got it down to a science where I have like a small package that's like, boom, here you go. Here's a music video. It's really possible these days to get some kind of music, some kind of video for your music pretty cheap. Not free, but you can find people who are for pretty reasonable amount of money. I mean, I would say during this downtime, do as much as you can to record whatever you can, reach out to people who might be willing to produce a video for you. Just try and use your time wisely right now. Everyone's on their computers. Everyone's watching stuff like this. Everyone's on Instagram browsing. There's plenty of audience out there to see your work, in a video. So it's definitely worth the time to go ahead and invest and start looking for somebody who can do that kind of thing for you. I don't remember who mentioned before about the, sometimes it's valuable just to bring somebody else in to make that their job. It's really invaluable just to get somebody else to bring a new perspective to your work and help you, put some visuals to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, you can also one thing that we're doing right now with the Reynolds Acapella group is we've got a few songs coming out for Christmas, and instead of trying to do another virtual choir video, which is really, really labor intensive and just a lot involved, the kids actually put together their own sort of slideshows of photos and videos of what they're doing at home in the Christmas season. It was really cool. So that hasn't come out yet. It is coming out. But yeah, you can easily do stuff like that. And there's so many free online apps. I think if you're just trying to get music out there, you don't have the money to do the video side of it. to get the music going, and then come back later and put, work with a team of people when you have the time to come and put the music video together with that professional group.
Uh-oh. What would be your top tips for video producers who are a one-person crew, especially now that we have to keep COVID etiquette in mind, being 6 feet apart, how to get the best audio if your interviewee isn't comfortable about being mic'd up, and so on. Also, want to point out how bizarre it is that COVID etiquette is now a thing. So,
True.
So anyone want to take that?
I do the one-man crew thing a lot. I don't want to bogart and answer 2 questions in a row, but I do the one-man crew thing all the time these days. And COVID has made it really tough. I kind of got by with doing just post-production for several months, but at a certain point, you had to go shoot. Being a one-man crew kind of makes life a lot easier for me because I'm the only person I have to worry about in terms of hygiene. I'm the only one I have to worry about. I got hand sanitizer for, right? So in regards to the mic'd up question in particular, because I've run into this myself, I don't feel super comfortable micing people sometimes. And a lot of people are really kind of sketchy about, in this day and age, getting, a stranger touch, because you got to go up their shirt sometimes and get the thing, so I've found that my biggest advantage.
Jack, I would welcome you doing that to me, just so you know.
After the pandemic.
This is PG-13.
I can't believe you're the one and not me who broached that anyway. I was so worried about saying dirty words. My best friend has been the boom mic. Don't even mess with wireless lavs anymore. Set up a boom mic, kind of get it in position. You can set the thing to go out 6 feet, so you never even have to get that close to your subject. So basic things like that, where it just change your workflow up a little bit to keep that social distance going. Did that answer the question? I feel like I kind of strayed.
No, I second the boom mic.
As a person who owns about $40,000 in wireless lavs, I'm still going to use them. The way things are shot, they expect a person to be mic'd up. It's that they're not changing the way things are shot, so I haven't had to change anything. For about 5 minutes, we all talked and said, "Oh, we're just going to use the boom and nothing else." But good luck with that. I work on shows like Married at First Sight, where people are waking up in bed and running down the hall and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to boom that stuff. So you just have to be careful, like you're careful with anything else. I can direct someone how to put the mic on. Occasionally, I'll just throw it on myself or whatever. Wearing gloves, we wore face shields and masks, and you do what you can. It's really, you're not contacting someone only, for a few seconds maybe, and stick the thing on, and away you go. Occasionally, you have to adjust it or whatever. But it hasn't really been a problem. I haven't changed my workflow at all, other than just wearing PPE when I'm doing it.
Well, that brings me to the last. I think we'll have time for this last question, unless something comes through. Well, there we go. I've noticed with editing that I am much better at visual part of the audio part. This might be a very simple question, but I would also like to know techniques for creating a smoother mix between different audio transitions, like where different audio camera angles were used, because I'm noticing that some of mine are not quite noticeable and I don't like it. I would actually say for this, that's probably something that you should talk with Liz about for the train cycle aspect, and hire someone to teach you that part, because that's why we're here. So I want to get to this last question. Rob touched on a little bit. What has changed in your workflow with video and film production since COVID has started? What changes, other than having to wear masks and gloves, have you run into, Eric?
I mean, it really has just come down to the sanitizing part of it. I mean, I concur, kind of like I've done several jobs where we did the boom version, but then I've been on jobs where you really couldn't trust the boom for what you were doing, so you would have to go with the wireless mics, and it's just a concerted effort of, okay, as soon as this person gives us the mic back, we're sanitizing it, we're wiping everything down, we're wearing our mask and, trying to just be just appropriate with people. So there's travel is another thing. I remember getting on a plane for a first time, and it was, I did my best to move my seat around, but in the end of the day, it didn't matter because they packed the plane. So, you just have to do the best you can and trust that other people are doing their part.
Gary, how has yours changed?
Well, we had to quickly convert the University of North Carolina's broadcast, all the student newscast, over from an in-person, what took, about 10 people to produce. We had to convert everything to online, and it was students doing it. So, had to factor in a lot of things, and still provide them what we hoped was a quality education at the same time, figuring out how the heck do we take this, from a in-person to an online world. For us, Zoom was helpful in the beginning, but that's not how you produce news. That's how you have a conference call. So we had to kick it up a little bit. StreamYard, Social Live, Ecamm. There's a lot of products out there. We had to go in, just feet first and learn these online platforms because I think we would all agree the show must go on, whether you have to wear a mask or whether you have to take extra sanitation protocols or converting to cloud platforms versus hands-on platforms. You do what you got to do. The show must go on no matter what.
Yeah,
Liz, what would you say? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was going to say, I just had my 20th COVID test, and I told someone that after 20 you get an ice cream cone, and they believed me. But so, this, we just did it. We just did a 5-week TV show with an 80-person crew. Nobody got sick. Everyone was tested bi-weekly and wore PPE, and we all get box lunches. We don't get to go graze at the craft service table anymore and dig around, when there's catering, etc. Everything is separate and boxed up and ready to go. But it can be done, and it has to be done. People want to be careful because they don't want to get sick and they want to keep working. So everyone just does their thing. And
Liz, how has your workflow changed?
Well, mine's changed a lot because my full-time job, running a theater, it's been quite dark since March. But on a Sound Lizard side of things, I have gone from my primary mixing, or my primary revenue being live mixing, has now switched back over to studio production work, post editing and mixing, which I had really kind of strayed away from and gone back to live mixing because that was where more work was happening for me at the time. So thankfully I was kind of able to pivot and go back to my roots on that, and use what I know from my live mixing. So that's how mine has changed, and just trying to figure out and help people live perform, virtually, which has been really a struggle for a lot of people who aren't well versed in both worlds at the same time. So I do want to say that all of our trainers, including Tim, our host, these guys are all available. If you want to schedule a masterclass with them, if you're interested in a customized workshop, all of that is available through our website at traincycle.org. And I definitely encourage you guys to check these guys out and read more about their bios and learn a little bit more about what Train Cycle is and how we can help. And we are here to interface with either educators in their programs, or if you're a student or an independent learner or someone who's just interested in knowing more about some of this stuff. Definitely encourage you guys to check us out and see what we can do for you. And we are in next month, we're actually going to launch a new series where we're going to be doing virtual events called our Train Cycle Summit. And we're going to be focusing each of those every quarter on a new subject. And our first one coming up is going to be in pro sound. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming at you towards the end of January, and we'll have registration coming to you soon.
Well, to Eric and to Jack, Rob, and cousin Gary Kirk. Thank you all for participating in our trainer talk today, and thank you, Liz, for having me sit here and run my mouth as I drank peanut butter whiskey. And
Oh my gosh.
yes, because
Peanut butter whiskey.
anytime that I have an opportunity to run my mouth, I'm going to take that opportunity. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for everyone who watched and everyone who sent us questions, and we have had a great time. Hey, did you enjoy this trainer talk? Be sure to give us a like
It's
and
good to
share
see
with your
everyone.
friends. Thanks so much, and have a great night. Oh, the lessdesirables.com, the manwhoatetown.com, and devereauxdiary.com. See ya.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,